Folks, sometimes I'm the bearer of bad news. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending October 30th, 2024. Sometimes I'm not the first agent somebody calls when they want to sell. Sometimes they've been on the market before, no success, they're not selling, they're not happy anymore, they are no longer going to be working with that realtor, but they still want to sell, and I maybe will get a call then. And so I'm not the first agent in that situation that they have recent experience with. And I find when I come into this situation, and I do my homework ahead of time before meeting the homeowners and talking about the sale of their home, there's three main problem areas when I compare to what they were doing before. One of the problem areas is marketing. There was virtually no marketing or very weak marketing on the first listing. So we'll talk about that and how it should be different. The other one, and this one really surprises me a lot, is that there are mistakes on the listing. Detrimental mistakes in many situations. I was recently at a home, for example, was on the market for months and months. And when you read the listing, it says they have a 1-car garage, when in fact it's a 2-car garage. Now think about this. If you're a buyer, you absolutely need a 2-car garage minimum, you'll put that in the search criteria. You don't even want to see 1-car garage. You don't even want to know about them. Why do you want them coming up in your feed? You don't. So in your search criteria, the same thing with the realtor that's helping that buyer. The realtor in their own search criteria will put, we only want to see minimum homes with minimum 2-car garages. Well, that home that in reality has a 2-car garage, but the listing says a 1-car garage, won't even come up as a potential. And so there are potential buyers that maybe could have bought that home. They didn't even know it was for sale. There's so many of these administrative errors, whether they're done, just by mistake, a typo, or they just had the wrong information to begin with. I find the homeowners many times do not actually read their listing and check it for accuracy. So we talk about that for a little bit and say, well, what about this? What about that? And they're always shocked that that's what our listing says. And I say, well, didn't you read it? Didn't the agent send it to you? But even if the agent didn't send it, don't you want to read your listing, what it looks like to other people? But they never do. I shouldn't say never. Sometimes they never do. The third aspect that we need to get into, and this is really the toughest part, is price. I'm looking at the price they're listed at. Not in all situations, but in many, their price is so unrealistic. And when I asked them about the price you were at, like, how did you come up with this price? It's either that's what we needed or that's what the agent told us. In either case, I'll say, well, do you have any kind of evidence that suggests that that's a price that it would make sense to a buyer? And they usually don't. Now, I've got a ton of evidence. And I should say, I'm telling you this, and if you're a seller, my goal is not necessarily to tell you you need to reduce your price. You could list at whatever price you want. You're the owner of that home. You can choose to be at the market. You want to be $500,000 more than the last sold home that's identical to yours? Do it. But we should be really clear. If your price is unrealistic, you're not actually a seller. What you are is a lister. You're listing your home for sale. You're enjoying people coming into your home. And maybe your strategy is to find that one buyer that's not informed. And if they like the house, they're just going to pay you. But that's a pretty weak strategy to find a buyer like that, because these days, buyers are extremely informed. They know what's going on in your neighborhood. They know what prices, what homes sold for a year ago, 2 years ago. They know exactly what's going on when it comes to prices, the market. Buyers are often more informed than sellers many times. So have your home at whatever price you want. You're not a seller yet unless your price is realistic. Sometimes I'll have the discussion. Remember, I'm the bearer of bad news now. I'm telling them everything that went wrong before. Price is one of those. And I'm showing them evidence that if a buyer was interested at your home, this is what they're looking at if they're interested. And if the buyer's not that informed, their agent probably is. And they're relying on their agent. And, I know people say, agents just want you to buy. I get agents negotiating with me all the time. And also, in this day and age, in this market, buyers are automatically discounting your price. So to be way up there, it doesn't make sense. You're not really serious about selling. And this is where I become the bearer of bad news. I got to tell people reality the way I see it. There's many agents like me that will tell you exactly what's going on, regardless of whether you get that business or not. The truth is the truth. What makes sense is what makes sense. The funny part is when I show some of these sellers, here's what's happening with other properties in your neighborhood. Now, knowing that, what would you pay for your home? And when they stay quiet and don't answer me, I know that they wouldn't pay the price that they're listed at. It doesn't make sense to them anymore. So, look, I may not be the first agent, but I'm many times the bearer of bad news, especially when I'm the second agent. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. There's a link up here to my calendar, another one below in the description. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Folks, at the end of this video, there'll be a link on my screen for a really nice townhouse. It's over 2,300 square feet. It backs onto a forest. Check it out. Here we go. We're going to be focused on the Peel and Durham region for detached properties only. Mississauga, Brampton, and Durham, we're going to be more focused on those areas there. We're going to start off with Mississauga for a week ending October 30th. 29 detached properties were sold. 2 of those were at $2 million or more. Now, 29 is actually a lot lower in sales than what we've seen since the beginning of September. We've been averaging just over 40 for many weeks in a row now. So 29 is a bit lower. Obviously, we can't say if that's the new trend. Over the next few weeks, we'll be able to tell you which way we're going. But 29 is lower than what we're used to. Average price is $1,482,000 on a weekly basis. Average prices go up and down. Kind of looks like to me from this perspective that overall average price has been quite flat over the last 6, 7, 8 weeks since the fall has started. Compared to last year, 1,482 is 3% higher year over year. Excuse me. The median price is also 3% higher year over year. Now, when we look at the dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. Median price, pretty clear, although it came down, but since the beginning of October, pretty flat. Average price, I would say it's pretty flat, but it looks like it may be trending down just a little bit. 29 were sold. 7 of those, so 24% sold at list price or more. Listings up from the last couple of weeks, but overall much lower and trending down from where we were at the beginning of the fall. Active listings is also starting to come down now. It's been trending down, not by a lot, but there are fewer available for sale. Months of inventory jumped up at 5.6, But that's because the sales were so much lower than what we were seeing before. But overall, months of inventory slightly was trending down prior to that. That was Mississauga. Let's look at Brampton. 59 detached properties were sold. 3 of those were at $2 million or more. Now 59, when I compared to what's happening since the beginning of the fall, it kind of looks like to me sales may be trending up for detached properties, but not by a lot. Excuse me. Average sold price way down to $1,091,000. Compared to last year, $1,091,000 is only 1% lower year over year. The median price is 2% lower. Both average and median seem to be trending down. Of the 59 that sold, 16 of those, so 27%, sold at list price or more. Listings trending down, although over the last couple of weeks they are up a little bit. And active listings starting to come down. And the months of inventory, we're sitting at 3.3 months of inventory. So over the last 6 weeks or so, we've been hovering between 3.3 and 4.3 months of inventory. So either balanced market or the bottom end of a balanced market is kind of where prices or months of inventory has been for Brampton. Let's look at Durham now. Now Durham, I'm using Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as my Durham sample. For week ending October 30th, 45 detached properties were sold. No properties sold at $2 million or more. Now 45, although the previous week was 61, if we just ignore that week, 45 seems to be a little bit on the top end of what would be considered normal for the fall market, for this fall market anyways. Average sold price way down from the previous week to $1,085,000. $1,085,000 is 4% lower year over year. The median price of $1,050,000 is no percentage change. Actually, it's a little bit over 0%, but it rounds off to 0%. 45 were sold, 21 of those, so almost half, 47% sold at list price or more. Listings, this arrow's a mistake here. For the last few weeks, listings have actually been trending up, but they've been kind of flat over the previous few weeks. Active listings, not a lot of changes since the beginning of the fall. And months of inventory sitting at 2.5, which is kind of normal for the fall market. When I say normal, I'm talking about this fall market. I'm not comparing it to any other fall market. So what we've been seeing during the fall, 2.5 is a little bit on, just slightly under what we would consider what we've been seeing already for the Durham region when it comes to months of inventory for detached properties. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. So 5.6 months of inventory for Mississauga. Brampton is 3.3. Ajax, Pickering would be 2.5, depending on where you're selling, where you're shopping. Or maybe you're just looking at these numbers just to stay informed. That's fine. But different markets. It's either buyer's market, balanced market, or maybe even a seller's market. Some of these areas have close to half of the property selling at list price or more. Price point and the home type or the way the home shows is a big factor in whether it sells quickly or sits on the market a lot longer. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.